Hello, everyone. My name is Josh Lockheed. I'm the training evangelist here at QuoteWerks. I'm joined by Brian Lawfer, the vice president here at QuoteWerks. And I appreciate you all joining us here today for a QuoteWerks Web Scripting Manager webinar. It's an exciting release that we had recently, and I'm excited to share it with all of you. And to that extent, there are a couple of things that we want to communicate about the Scripting Manager. Some of you that may have used a desktop have used QuoteWerks Desktop Scripting. Well, think of this as an extension of that, but in web. This particular functionality, the Scripting Manager, is available in versions R25 and above. And as I mentioned, this is very similar to what you might have experienced if you've used desktop scripting before, in that the idea is you're going to choose an event trigger, you're going to write a script, assign it to that event trigger, and when that event trigger runs, the script will be triggered. And we'll get a little bit more in depth as to how that works and where you could do that within the software as well. Important to mention that it is built on JavaScript, but another important piece to mention is you don't actually need to know JavaScript in order to use it. And a little bit different than our QuoteWerks desktop is that when in the web now, you don't have to save your script to an external file. All of the repositories are saved directly in QuoteWerks Web. And as I need to highlight here, there's another great feature of the QuoteWerks Web Scripting Manager, which is the AI Assistant. Now, I won't tell you too much about the AI Assistant here yet, but that's one of the reasons why you don't necessarily need to know how to build code in JavaScript in order to use it. And again, we'll talk a lot about that as we continue through the presentation. So there are a couple of different ways that you can generate scripts in the QuoteWerks Web Scripting Manager. First one would be to choose a script from a list of sample scripts that we've created. You can also create those scripts manually, again, using JavaScript code. But then again, we also have this AI assistant, which can be used to feed it normal prompts, and then it'll actually build the JavaScript for you. So if you see the picture here on the screen, you may not know what any of that means, but you might know what you're trying to do. And that's really all you need to know, or the biggest component of what you need to know when you're using the AI assistant. Again, we'll talk about the AI assistant in more detail here. So the question becomes, why is QuoteWerks Web Scripting important? Well, a big part of that is it's the first time that we're introducing scripting to the web, but also the first time that we're introducing AI, which I think, again, is a really cool thing, and you'll see how that works in a little bit. This particular scripting manager is a great option because it does extend existing functionality and gives you the ability to perform actions that aren't normally able to be performed within the QuoteWerks system. So as you'll see through some of the samples that Brian will share with you, you're really able to do a lot here, and what you're able to do is only limited by what you're able to come up with and put into that AI assistant. Some really cool stuff. Now, as I mentioned, one of the main components of this whole process of creating a script is using an event trigger. So we've got 18 different event triggers, and this is going to be either after or before a particular action. And a really good way to demonstrate that would be after save document, right? So in that case, if you have that selected and the script associated with it, after you save the document, the script will run. Likewise, if you have before save document, it will execute that script before the document is saved. And again, there's 18 different event triggers here, all of which can be used in different ways. And as you can see on the screen, there are little toggles next to each of those, and they can be toggled on or off individually as a whole. And if they are on, it's going to show as green. Another thing to mention here is you will see the little save icons there as well. If you're in the scripting manager and you're editing a script and you haven't yet saved it, that save icon is going to be red. And you just want to make sure, if you want to save that script, to go in there and hit that save button when you're working with them. So again, one component of the scripting manager are the event triggers. Another area within the scripting manager that is important to mention is the testing area, and this is where you can actually write and test scripts. As I mentioned, the code's written in JavaScript, but even while using the testing area, you can still leverage the AI assistant that we'll talk about in a moment. And running a script is as easy as creating the script and then pressing that play button up at the top left of the screen. And the great thing about this is actually running against a live document. So any of the testing scripts that you're going to run are going to be running against the document that you currently have open in QuoteWerks Web. I've alluded to it a couple different times, but here is the AI assistant. And this is a tool that's going to allow you to create scripts based on user prompts. And these scripts, just like one that you've gone in and manually written, can be assigned to event triggers. Now, as I mentioned, the extensibility of this is really as far as your imagination can take it. We do have 13 sample scripts that show you what the prompt is, and then what code is generated by that prompt, and then subsequently what that code actually executes when you get into the system as well. And it's important to mention here that the use is endless, as it really gives you the ability to interact with any of the tables or fields from the QuoteWerks database. So really cool option when it comes to utilizing the system in a different way. Now, there are, as I mentioned, a number of different ways in which you can use these scripts. There are some sample ones. So examples of some of the sample scripts are going to be confirm save intent. So you might want to make sure that if a customer is, or excuse me, if a user is going in and working with a document, that when they save the document, that they're prompted with like a little pop-up box that says, are you sure you want to save it? Very simple option, but certainly one of the samples that we have. We also have an option here within our samples to enhance the descriptions with AI. So it'll actually take the description that you have in the description field in the document items table, and it'll go ahead and generate an option for you that is a little bit more marketing focused, a little bit more lengthy, and provides a little bit more color to what you're trying to describe. Now, we do have a number of other samples that we have here, and some of the things that you can do, we'll actually be having Brian show you in a moment, but some of the other options we have: identifying $0 line items on a document, identifying line items with profit below certain thresholds, totaling up all services, and creating a new summary line. Obviously, these are just a couple examples, but one of the great things is that we have our live environment here. And any of you on R25 or above will have it live to you as well. And that's what we're going to do now, is we're going to kick it over to Brian. He's going to share his screen and go through and reiterate some of the things that we've talked about and show you how the QuoteWerks Web Scripting Manager works.
Awesome. And if you could go ahead and give me control.
Yes, sir. You should have control now.
All right. Actually, here we go, share screen. Perfect. All right, so you guys should be able to see my screen now. Before I get started here, I did want to start off by saying that this webinar is meant to be an introduction to the new scripting API in QuoteWerks Web. This is not an end-all demonstration, but rather to encourage you to see what is possible. My focus will be on the AI assistant because not everyone is a programmer or knows JavaScript. In the questions that we had prior to the webinar here, I think less than 10% knew JavaScript, so it's a good thing we've got AI. Speaking of AI, at QuoteWerks, we've taken a very thoughtful approach when it comes to implementing AI. We challenged our developers that AI should solve real world problems. And that's why we focused our efforts on areas where AI can have the greatest impact for our users. Two standout examples are Scripting Engine, which we'll be reviewing today, and also the Paste Special Wizard in QuoteWerks Web. Before I start the demo, I also wanted to mention that in addition to my team here at QuoteWerks, we have partners all over the world that have experience with this API, including Steve Siggs with Hilltops, that has been a QuoteWerks development and sales partner for a number of years. He was one of our very first early adopters and has provided a lot of feedback and has even posted blogs and videos on his website and YouTube as well. So if you have questions, you can definitely reach out to us. You can reach out to him as a partner as well. So just wanted to make sure to mention that. I also wanted to make sure to acknowledge that this is all live, and coding, and especially using AI in front of an audience, rarely goes as planned. So with that, let's take a closer look at scripting in QuoteWerks Web. So if you're not familiar with QuoteWerks Web, basically this is the interface. What we're going to do is we're going to start off by going to the setup menu here. Only users with master rights are going to have access to the scripting manager, but any changes that you do within the scripting manager can actually impact other users as well. So, and we'll talk a little bit about how that works in here in just a moment. Before we go through and do everything in here, I did want to make sure to show the documentation. You'll notice that I clicked on the question mark here, and over to the right-hand side, we have our QuoteWerks Web Scripting API and Event Guide. This has a bunch of information, so if you're somewhat technical, this will be a good place for you to go. Otherwise, this might be a good place for you to go if you just want to make small tweaks to what the AI assistant is going to be doing. And a couple of things to note that I like to use is, I think I went too far. There's a lot of documentation, as you can see here. So one of the main ones here is going to be the system functions. And the key ones that I like to use are going to be down here. So it's the toast menus, which are basically the menus that pop up in the lower right, and you'll see how that works in just a moment. And then also the fact that we have the AI generate text, which we'll use when we do some of the translations as well. So let's go ahead and close out of that. And then what Josh was talking about before, let me go ahead and clear out the testing area, is here at the top, we've got our AI assistant. And we have some simple samples that you can look at and make tweaks to the prompt. Remember, any prompt that you give to the AI will be better with the more detail that you provide. So the more detail that you provide, the better the outcome is going to be. So let's go ahead and do a very simple sample that's here. That way you can kind of take a look at what's in here. So in this case, I chose the validation field. So this is the prompt that we're telling it is verify that document header custom text 01 is filled out. If not, inform the user and prevent continuation by setting cancel to true. So let's go ahead and click on AI generate script, and you'll notice that we've got our log going. And depending on the time of day, it'll take longer to run just because of the activity and whatnot. And as you can see, we've got a very simple script that just popped up in here, and it's got, I'm not going to go through all of JavaScript, but you can see we do have a prompt here that says missing information. The custom text 01 field is not filled out, and it's doing it based on the document header value of custom text 01. So you can see that was very good there. Let's go ahead and save it here, and we can click on the green button here to press play, and we can see what we've got. So I believe I actually have information. Oh, I don't have a document open. So one of the things you can do is you can actually prompt to make sure that you have a document open before you do it, and I'd always recommend doing that. Let's go ahead and create a new document here. And these are the little toast windows that I was talking about before. Okay, so if I go over to my custom text field, let's go ahead and wipe out what I currently have in that field. And we'll go back over to my scripting manager here, and we'll just rerun it. And you'll notice I am in the testing area, so this is not going to affect anything except for myself when I'm in here. So let's go ahead and click on the play button, and you'll notice that we have a custom text 01 field that is not filled out. Please complete before proceeding. So that's what an example would be as far as preventing the user from moving forward. So you'd use that when you're doing a before print or before save. But before I continue on here, I did want to say, we've got a couple of questions that have come in. Carrie, I know you said that this is over your head. Don't worry about it. This is really just to give you an idea of what's possible, and then we can come back and you can go ahead and use this to go ahead and make some changes, or you can reach out to our support team to kind of give you some examples of some things you can do. Or, like I said, you can work with partners that are very familiar with this as well. So there's lots of options available to you as far as the scripting is concerned here. All right, so all I'm doing in here, like I said, is I'm just going to go ahead and give you some examples of some things you can do, some testing first, and then we'll go through and we'll do some real world examples as well. So let's go ahead and start with something that happens a lot. So if I go back to my workspace here and my document items, you'll notice that my manufacturer part number field here is blank. Also, if I scroll over, actually, I don't have one in here. Let's go ahead and make a vendor part number blank as well. Because in the real world, you've got users that are manually typing in products. You've got users that are bringing it in from lots of different products from different sources. So a lot of times your data isn't necessarily as clean as you would like it to be. So what you could do is you could have the API or the scripting manager here go through and fix your data. So if your manufacturer part number is blank, as an example, you could go ahead and fill it out with the vendor part number. Or if the vendor part number is blank, you could fill it out with the manufacturer part number. So that way you've got data in there, and that's especially useful whenever you're sending anything over to your CRM or PSA, and especially when going over to accounting. So let's go ahead and see what a prompt would be for that. So we're going to type it in. I'm not going to type in the whole thing because I don't want to bore you guys with my typing. So I'm going to go ahead and just paste some prompts in here. I'll have all of these prompts available. If you send an email to community@quoteworks.com, I can go ahead and send you the prompts, so you don't need to worry about copying all of these. So we've got our first prompt here is, if the vendor part number is empty, but the manufacturer part number is not, please populate the vendor part number with the manufacturer part number. And then I have another line here that says, if the manufacturer part number is, actually, let's go ahead and leave it the spelling mistake there, because actually, let's not. And then, but the vendor part number is not, please populate the manufacturer part number with the vendor part number. So let's go ahead and click on the AI generate script. And you can see it's generating it. It's initializing. And just like that, now we have our script. I'm going to go ahead and close this here. And again, you don't need to know how to use JavaScript to be able to do this. For the most part, it's going to do it all for you. So let's go ahead now. And remember, if we go back, you'll see our manufacturer part number on line 1 is blank. Our vendor part numbers on line 2 and what is this, line 5 are blank as well. So let's go ahead and click on run. And then let's go back over here, and you'll see that our manufacturer part number now is filled out and matches our vendor part number, and the manufacturer part number of line 2 is now in the vendor part number. So it's that easy to go ahead and fix your data. And this could be done before print or before save to automatically be done, so you don't even have to have your users do anything. So that's a good example of something that's like a real world example of something you could do. Also, some other things that come up is the fact that, a lot of times you'll be working with a customer, you'll go ahead and, require a deposit, but we don't have any calculated fields that show you how much is still required on that deposit. So after the deposit is paid. So as an example, we've got our total here of about $10,000, a deposit that's required of $7,700, but we don't have anywhere to tell the customer what the deposit required is. So what we could do is we could create another script, and I'm just going to go ahead and we're just going to work within our testing area just to give you some examples of some things you can do here. So a script, the prompt here is going to be, I would like to calculate the remaining balance after the deposit is made. Would you please calculate the difference between the deposit amount and the grand total and place that value in the document header's custom text 01 field? So we can go ahead and click on Generate Script. And now we have our script here. So the first thing you'll see is it's checking to see if the document is open. And if it's not, it's going to prompt the user. And then also what it's going to do is it's going to go ahead and get the deposit amount and the grand total. And then it's going to get the difference and put it in custom text 01. So let's go ahead and run that. All right, so it looks like we might have an issue here because it's got the remaining balance of $0 has been stored in custom text 01 field. So let's go back and take a look. Well, that's not right, is it? So what I always recommend doing is testing your scripts to make sure that it's going to be right. And this is where the information that you feed in will always be better if you can kind of give it more data to work with. So I know a little bit about why this isn't working, so let's go ahead and figure out why though. So an example here is, we're going to use that toast info to kind of give me some information for debugging. And this might go above some people's heads, but this is going to be a good example of things that you can do to make sure that you understand what's going on. So I'm going to toast the deposit amount followed by the grand total. So we're going to go ahead and run that again. That's interesting. This was all working a few minutes ago. So I apologize. I'm not sure. Actually, I know what's happening here. Hold on one moment. Go ahead and just, hopefully this is the problem. If it's not, then I'll toast it up to the fact that we've got, yeah, there's something else going on here. I wonder what it is. Oh, it's trying to solve the problem. I apologize. So as you can see here, it's trying to parse it out, and it's saying if it's not able to, then to use 0. So let's go ahead and the code is trying to help us. So let's find out what's actually happening here. Okay, yeah, that's okay. So let's go ahead and fix that a little bit. So what we're going to do is I'm going to change the prompt. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, but I'm also going to say make sure to remove any formatting to the number of the strings in the strings prior to calculation. And you can see that now we've got some things in here that should help us when it comes to calculating that out. And if we go back, and we go back to our custom, now you can see that that has been renamed. That has been calculated correctly now. And the reason behind that is because there were there was a $ in the deposit required. Okay, so that might have gone above somebody's head, some people's head there. I apologize. As we're going through here, if you have any questions, make sure to ask in the questions box here. And if I'm missing anything, Josh, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and ask, and we can go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, Brian, there was a question that came in that I think there's 2 questions. First one from Stuart. Is it possible to use AI to query the internal QuoteWerks product database to validate the items on the quote versus what is contained in the product database to make sure they match?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if that's been implemented yet. So let's go ahead and go to the documentation just to see what we have access to. I don't think we have access to that yet. Yeah, at this point, I don't think we have that capability, but that is a great suggestion of something that could be done. This is a phase 1 of the scripting manager. It's definitely not the end all when it comes to things. We've got things planned out actually for we've got 3 more phases coming. So there's a lot more that'll be coming to this, and that's some great feedback. I believe that's something that we already have, so we'll definitely keep that in mind when we're ready for that.
Yeah, and Brian, along those same lines, there's another question that came in from Jose, whether or not this tool could be used to fix global issues in the database or if it's specific to a quote, and I think that's important to point out there.
Yeah, so the scripting manager is only going to work with the currently active document that you're working with. So it's not going to fix anything in the database right now. But if anything comes in from the database that maybe is not exactly the way you would want it to, this is a time to go ahead and clean it up or make sure to validate the data before it gets sent to the customer or it gets resaved again. So it's definitely not a way to fix what's in the database, but it is going to fix anything before the customer sees it, or it goes to reporting, or it goes to accounting or CRM. Okay. All right. And let's go ahead and do another sample here that's maybe a little bit easier to understand here. First one is going to be, you'll notice that we do have some price modifiers here. but we don't have a set price modifier across the board depending on the type of items that we've got here. So maybe what we want to do is, if an item type is, say, product, we want to make sure that we've got a price modifier that's unified for all products, as an example. The other thing you could do too is, like, maybe based on the vendor, you could go ahead and set a markup based on that. But in this example here, we're going to go ahead and do a very simple one, where if we go over, we could set the price modifier to P20 for all product item types where the unit price is greater than, say, $10. It could be any number you want, or you don't have to add that specific example in there either. So let's go ahead and click on AI Generate Script. And as you can see, I went ahead and calculated that for us. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and run it. And if we go over here, okay, so you can see that the price modifiers were set to P20. They used to be P20 R5, and it's doing it based on the item type of product. So let's go ahead and Control C, Control V. Let's run that one more time. So we'll set a price modifier for the second line there. So that makes a little bit more sense. So I'm running, I just ran it. And hopefully, oh, I have to click off of it before I can actually run it. So it commits. Go back. And I'm not sure why it didn't commit. Oh, because it's the amount. So let's go ahead. It's not greater than $10. That would do it. Let's try that one more time. Again, live coding is never perfect. And as you can see, now we've got our $15 here. P20 gets up to $18.75. All right, so now let's talk about some things that, an example that I've actually had to create a script for a customer for before in QuoteWerks Desktop, where basically what they wanted to do was summarize each item type on the document and place it in a custom memo field. So in this case, our summary here is going to basically add up all of the item types and have the totals for each of those item types. So you can see we've got products on here, we've got services, managed services, and then we have some blank ones as well. So let's go ahead and take our prompt. Generate it. So it's, please summarize the total of each item type on the document and place the summary in the document header's custom memo 01. So it's generating that code for me. And so let's go ahead and run it. And if I go over to the custom field, you'll notice now we have item type totals with a product equal to that, a blank one equal to that, service, and then managed service. So managed service is $49. So let's just go back over here just to make sure our managed service here is $49. So it's a good way to create some summaries for either your salespeople, or even if you wanted to include that on the quote as well. But we have a little problem here. It's not exactly clear with that blank item type what's going on there. So what we can do is we can actually take it a step further. Is if we go back over to our scripting manager here, we can go ahead and add on to that script. So instead of just saying that, we can go ahead and say, if the item type is blank, please call this uncategorized rather than being blank. So again, the more information you put in, the better the result is going to be in the long run. So let's go ahead and see here. So you'll notice that it's now looking to see if the item type is empty, and if so, then it's going to use uncategorized. So let's go ahead and run it. As you can see, it runs really quick. But yet again, we have another problem now. The AI decided to try to be smart, and it put breaks in here. So, but it did go ahead and do the uncategorized. So let's do it one step further. And this is why we recommend using the testing area before you push it out live. We'll go ahead and say at the end of each line, please use a line feed so the text box works correctly. So let's go ahead and generate it one more time. And we'll run it one last time here. And now you can see this is something that's actually usable, and you could include on the document itself or in reporting when you're reporting on your documents. Okay.
Hey, Brian, we do have a couple more questions that came in.
Sweet.
Yeah, so Scott was asking, will it be possible to have AI as part of the script? Clarifies that he sees we can use it to provide improved product descriptions, but how about analyzing all product options in a specific header and providing a client-friendly summary of the difference within a new comment at the bottom of the header?
In theory, Scott, that is possible. If we have time at the end, we could definitely go through and do that. So the cool thing is we can use AI to then call AI. And actually, I'm going to do that in my next example where we're doing some translations. But we'll come back to that one, Scott. But that should be possible with the scripting manager and the AI assistant.
Okay. Another question here from Joanne. Does QuoteWerks AI Assistant help with budget planning and sales forecasting reports?
So I'm going to say for in phase one, the answer is no, unfortunately. So the AI assistant here in the scripting manager is only going to be on this specific document. So if you wanted to work on budget planning on this document, then possibly, but it would really depend on what detail you're putting into the prompt and what you're trying to get out of it. And then as far as sales forecasting reports, probably not. We do have some reporting capabilities that you would be able to do that, but that's outside of AI right now. And we do plan on adding additional functionality to our APIs, which is different than AI, as well as the scripting as well.
Great. Yeah, Christian actually had a similar question there as well in regards to looking at sales numbers. But there's another question here that came in from Peter. Can you set modifiers to calculate to a preset price hinging on the unit costs? For example, could the modifiers adjust to round the extended price to the nearest dollar amount?
Ooh, yes, and actually that's actually a very easy one to do. So I'll actually share that one. I'll do that one real quick because that's simple there. So if we go back to what my original prompt was when it came to the setting the unit price, I mean the price modifier. So in this case, I had to set the price modifier to P20 for all item types that are product. Instead of P20, you just do R1, and that does it to the first. It rounds it up to the nearest dollar. So I'll go ahead and generate that script one more time here, and we'll run it. And if I go back over here, you'll see that now our unit prices are all to the nearest dollar. You can do R5 if you want to as well, or R10, just depending on what you want to round up to. And that you can do that in QuoteWerks Desktop or QuoteWerks Web. That's just part of the price modifier built-in capabilities. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and before we get our next question, let's go ahead and do another example of something that I think is like super cool. One of my favorite ones is having to do with translations and language translations. So, so as an example, a lot of times if you're in, say, Canada or selling into Canada, especially Quebec, I should say Quebec, you do need to make sure you include the French descriptions as well. And you can do that even without knowing any French. So as an example, we can change our prompt here to say, if custom memo 02 is empty, translate the description to French and place the translation in custom memo 02. So this is going to be an example where we're going to actually, on each line item, we're going to be calling the AI to do certain things. It's going to take just a moment here. And as you can see, now we have in here the fact that we do have a AI generate, and it's going to generate based on the translation prompt. And the prompt is going to be, where is it? Oh, there we go. The prompt is translate the following text to French, and it's just bringing in the description field. So let's go ahead and run that and see what happens. You'll notice that it takes a little bit of time to do it, because what it's doing is for each line, it's going through and generating the text and then writing it out. What I'm going to do is show you a really cool trick that'll make this go a lot faster than what we've got going on right here. So if I go back over to the workspace and I scroll over custom MNO02, I don't know French. Hopefully you guys do. So here's an example of what it would be in French. I'm going to go ahead and get a new document open here. And so that we can have a fresh custom memo 02. It's going to be very similar to what we just had. Now, the problem is that took a long time for that to run, because basically what it did was it read the description and then wrote it. It read the description and then wrote it. So let's go ahead and make this a little bit better. And instead, if we go back over to the scripting manager, we'll go ahead and say and commit all the changes at the end. Do not do it one by one, as this is super slow. So let's go ahead and generate that. So as this is going, I just want to remind you guys, this is just to give you an idea of things that are possible. This is not necessarily the limit of what can be done. So it's going through a little bit faster now instead of doing it, committing every single one of them. So it should be done in about now. So now if we go back, and you can see it toasted us. If we scroll over, we now have it complete. All right. So now let's make this a little bit better. So let's say an example, you sell to customers in France or customers in Quebec, or you sell to customers maybe here in Florida that need Spanish, or customers in Mexico that also would need Spanish. You could go ahead and build it a little bit further. So let's go ahead and make it a little bit nicer here. Translate the description to French if the sold to country is Canada or France. Otherwise, translate the description to Latin American Spanish and place the translation in custom memo 02. Commit all the changes at the end. Do not do it one by one, as it is super slow. So again, we're just building on this prompt to kind of make it a little bit better and a little bit more usable depending on who we're selling to. And this also gives you a better idea as to how flexible this is going to be as well. So if I go to my workspace right now, my sold to country is blank. So it should, instead of French, it's going to use Spanish. So let's go ahead and run it. That was a lot faster. Let's go to our workspace here, document items, and there we go. That is definitely Spanish now. So that was super fast. So that's just another example. I've got one more really cool example that I want to show, but before I do that, I know that there's some more questions that came in. Josh, do you want to go ahead and take that?
Yeah, sure. So Andrew had a question here. Is it possible to code a solution that can pull live pricing from a contract website?
So I'm going to say maybe. And this is one where I'm not sure if it's going to be in phase 1 or phase 2. And the reason I say that is we do have the ability, depending on if that website has an API, there's a possibility we could pull it. And the reason that I say that is that we actually have, I'm just scrolling through here, I apologize. We have the HTTP request. So depending on what's available to you, you might be able to do that. But I don't have a definitive yes or no, but the tools should be there if the website, the contract website, has the tools available to you.
Great. Yeah, Adam had a question here too as well. Are you printing these custom fields onto the document, or are they needed to be added to the quote valet template?
That's a great question, Adam. So in all of these examples, you would need to modify the layouts, whether that be the quote valet template or the template that goes out to the customer as far as the actual PDF document or which is the FPC file, the Word document that gets converted, or our new layout designer, which you'll be seeing here shortly as well.
Okay. There's another question here from Joanne. If we update and replace a script in QuoteWorks, will it retroactively impact documents that were created before the change?
It will not retroactively do that. And that's so maybe I should add a little bit of clarification. So right now I've been doing everything in the testing area, so things aren't happening auto-magically. I'm having to click a button. But what I'm going to do at the very end is I'm going to show the before deliver, which is basically going to go ahead and run some code before I deliver the quote to the customer. So that way it's just going to automatically happen no matter what. It's not going to require any user interface, but all of these scripts require something to happen. And and that something is going to be one of these events: before or after contact selection, converting document, deleting document, all the way down to a line item is added, the document is saved, or a shipping selection has been made.
Great. This is a good question in from Jose. Is it possible to use the assistant to build a scope of work based on the parts and place it in the scope of work, introduction / closing, etc.?
The quick answer is yes, but a lot of us know that a lot of the AIs out there do C work at best. Sometimes you might get B work. What I mean by that is grade level wise. So you're going to want to, they can go ahead and build out a basic scope of work, but you're going to want to proof it before you send anything like that to a customer. And that's going to be the same thing when it comes to these translations as well. You're going to want to make sure that it's giving you the right information. I haven't seen a case where the scripting agent with the AI assistant has come back with anything that's like completely wrong, but at the same time, I've wanted to clean it up a little bit before I would send that to a customer.
All right, that's all the questions for now.
Okay, awesome. All right. Let's see. Question here did just pop up from Brad. If a script is created, can it be saved and reused? Yes, it can, but you'd need to either save it in the testing area or save it with one of the events. You can also, if you'd like to test things out, you can copy from the actual event here. Let me go ahead and go back up here. So you could copy this out and save it for later as well, but it would not be something that would automatically be done for you. Okay, so I've got one more sample that I want to show you, and then we'll go ahead and show a real world example as well. So one of the really cool things about the scripting manager that we've got here is that our developers actually created a way to include a form for you, so you could actually fill out data. And what I mean by that is if we go back over to the documentation, you'll see that we've got what's called here the dynamic form. And so you can actually have pick lists of fields that the user can select from. You can have them manually type in information, but you don't have to necessarily create this form yourself. You can use the AI assistant to do that for you. So what I'm going to do here is create a dynamic form, and go ahead and paste this prompt in here. I'll make that a little bit bigger here. And we'll go ahead and start generating it. If any field on the document has an empty item type, please show a dynamic form. On the dynamic form, please have two fields: item type with options of product or service, price modifier with a free-form text box. For each line on the document that has an empty item type, please use the item type and price modifier specified in the dynamic form. And you can see that I've got some spelling mistakes in there as well. And you would have seen a lot more if I was typing them myself. So let's go ahead and scroll through. You can see that it went ahead and created all of the code for us. But let's go ahead and now go back to our workspace. So we've got item types in here. We've got 3 lines that are blank item types. and a few of them do not have any price modifiers. So let's go ahead and run that. So what it's going to do now is it's going to update all the items that have a blank item type. We can set it to product. And now we're going to put in our price modifier. We'll do like an M40. Hit submit. And if we go back to our workspace, here's our M40s. And now we do not have any blank item types. So you have the ability to actually prompt the user for information. And that would be a way that you could go ahead and make sure that you've got some data validation before it gets saved or before it gets printed. And actually, this would be a really good example to use on a before save option. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the scripting manager here. Let's just say I really like this code. So I'm going to do Control A and Control C. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the before save document event. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste that. Now you'll notice that I have a red save icon. That basically means that I haven't saved this yet and it hasn't been committed. So I'm going to click on save. So at this point, I see that I have a blue dot, but it's only got a blue dot. It's only got the blue dot, which means that I've got code in there. If I click on this green option here and commit it, now anytime I save the document, that code is going to be ran. So let's go to our workspace. Let's go ahead and do a new document. And we'll select from a template and we'll keep it using our sample parts. We'll go ahead and bring that in. Go to our sold to ship to tab. Let's go ahead and hopefully I've got a contact in this database. Of course I do. And we'll go ahead and bring that in. And now I'm going to go ahead and save this quote. And it's prompting me right here. We'll go ahead and set it to products. And we'll do an M20R5 and submit. And so as you can see, now all of that has been done. Now we can go ahead and save our document. So now if I were to save the quote again, it would have checked to see if there are any blanks. There weren't, so it didn't prompt it this time. So that's how you can use this script, the scripting engine in real life. And if I go back to the scripting manager here, you'll see that's the one that's on. I also have a before deliver, which will then automatically set the price modifier to P20 for anything over $10. So if I were to go back to my workspace, go to deliver, you'll notice that now my price modifiers are changing on the fly. Again, I'm not having to do anything. It's happening automatically for me here. And then if I wanted to, I have the ability to turn this off as well. So if I turn this off at the top and click on save, then you'll see at the top here, it says all event scripts have been disabled. That means no matter who is logged into QuoteWerks Web, scripting will be off for them. It doesn't matter what what their settings are, it's going to be disabled. If I change this, hit save, now all of those will be back on again for everybody else. So I just wanted to make sure that I went through some of those samples, went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but this is a good example as far as what you can do with the scripting manager. Do we have any other questions here?
You just had one come in. It's a couple of them here. If you want to read it there yourself, Brian.
Yeah. Let's see. Steve has some questions. So this is Steve Siggs from Hilltops IT. He was the one that I was saying at the beginning that was doing a lot with our scripting manager here. So does QuoteWerks Technical Support have access to scripts that you implement in your QuoteWerks Web tenant? We do have, from a support standpoint, we do have the ability to get access to them if we need to, but it's not something that we're necessarily looking at per se. Basically, what we're doing is we're making sure that any of the ones that fail, we have the ability to go through and make it better. Let's see. How much can QuoteWerks technical support help me with working out issues with my scripts? It's going to be very limited as far as what we can do on the support standpoint. Through professional services, we can do a lot more, but in support, if you have a specific question, like, here's my script, I'm doing this, I was expecting X to happen, why isn't it happening? You can definitely send that in to support, and we can, point you in the right direction, but we're not going to be writing scripts for you in technical support. And then the big one, what's going to be in phase 2 for this scripting manager? I don't have the complete answers to that, but what I will say, one of the questions that you had is, will you have the ability to create custom menu items? That is something that will be coming. I don't know which phase it will be in. Beyond custom menu options, we plan on having custom buttons coming as well. So we're definitely taking this to the next step. And basically, the more people that we have providing feedback, the better implementation that you guys are going to have as far as functionality that you can have access to. You're muted there, Josh.
I'm so sorry about that. I had a question that came in from Adam, and he's asking, can we add up multiple lines of the same product or labor, remove them, and add a single line with the total quantity and price?
You can definitely do that, and that is something that I used to do a lot when especially for labor, and you can definitely do that with the scripting manager. All right. Well, I think that was a good introduction here as far as what the scripting manager can do. Like I said, you don't necessarily need to know how to write code. As you saw from my examples, I did very little in the actual scripting area. It was all in the prompting with the AI assistant. So you have a lot of control over what you can do with the QuoteWerks document now.
Yeah. Well, Brian, very much appreciate that demo. I think it put a lot of color to what we discussed in the presentation here. But before we go, I just want to point out the fact that there are a number of different resources that you have available to you, both associated with the web layout, or excuse me, with the web scripting manager, but also in general. So one of those is going to be our help files. So if you go and search the help files for the scripting manager, you'll find that there are a couple files there in addition to the information that is included in the scripting manager itself. We also have a number of videos, the form, a regular webinar cadence like this one today, tricks and tips, emails, and then one thing to mention is if you have any questions, always reach out to community@quoteworks.com, and we certainly pride ourselves on having a good team here. So likewise, if you have any questions for technical support, as Brian had mentioned, they're happy to help answer any questions you may have. And if for some reason you've ended up here and you don't have QuoteWerks Web, feel free to reach out to our sales team and they'd be happy to get you a trial. And there was a question that came in as to whether or not we would be sending out a recording of the call. There will be a recording coming out within 24 to 48 hours, so just keep an eye out on your email, and we'll go from there. So, Brian, I did see a couple questions that may have come in while I was talking there. Let me take a look here. All right, I don't think that there are any questions so much as they were just comments.
Actually, I did see a question come in from Stuart. It's something I probably should have said at the beginning. Stuart's question is, we currently use mainly QuoteWerks Desktop and have written many VB scripts to perform various updates on the quotes, like adding rows or updating rows. If we move to QuoteWerks Web, would all of these need recreated in AI scripting instead? For the most part, you're going to need to do some tweaking, but we actually, through the AI prompting, you can actually convert an existing VB script to our scripting engine JavaScript. Now, you're going to want to do a lot of testing before you go, before you commit them all, but we do have that capability built into the scripting manager right now. All right.
It doesn't look like we have any other questions here, and we're getting close to the top of the hour. So with all that being said, I'd like to thank everyone for joining the webinar today. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the team, and hope everyone has a great rest of the day.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.